More Americans are filing early for Social Security. This is from the Wall Street Journal, and I'm. It's just crazy how much the media can lead people to make stupid choices. So last year, 500,000 people filed as early as they could, and now it's 580,000 people this year. And I just, obviously, the vast majority of these can be left-wing people. Now, could some of that be attributed to a stock market decline? Yeah, probably. There's probably some of that there. But I actually think it's the left-wing people saying, oh my goodness, Trump's going to take away my Social Security. I better get in while the getting's good. I can't believe people are so willing to make bad financial decisions simply because of media. Right-wingers do this too, by the way. I'll never forget I had a guy who was assigned to me when I was at USAA who went all into gold in 2011. Don't forget, gold just crushed the markets, the aughts, just crushed it. And I didn't, this guy did it well before I became his quote advisor, unquote. And he proceeded to just get stomped by gold. By the time I was working with him, probably 2015, something like that, he was down like to $300,000 from like 1.5 million or something like that, because he was certain that with Obama, the dollar was going to collapse and gold was going to continue its ascent. I said, dude, we've only heard that 1,000 times a Sunday. Hey, I didn't want anything to do with the guy because I was like, dude, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. He got kind of mad. He's like, what am I supposed to do now? I said, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, why did you get into gold to begin with? Well, because the dollar was going to collapse. All right, well, it didn't collapse. But the gold did, price of gold did, so you're way down. The market's gone up another, 100% since then, 200%. What do you want to do now? Well, the market's too high. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but I have no opinion on this whatsoever, because if I did, there's no upside for me. If I say you should get in the S&P 500 and it works, that's great, but, I get a pat on my back. If I say you should get in the S&P 500 and the market tanks, I could lose my job because of a complaint against me. A pat on the back versus losing your job. Yeah, I'll be like Homer Simpson, where I just kind of gradually back up, into the bush. Anyway, this was crazy. I'll never forget that. Look, we've had many right-wingers tell me, I'm not touching annuities because they're friggin' scams, or I listen to Dave Ramsey and whole life insurance is a scam, or just many right-wingers too. Mostly it's about gold, though. The dollar's going to collapse because they've been listening to the right-wing economists for too long. And the right-wing economists, just like the left-wing economists, are about as right as you would be just rolling the dice. You know what I'm saying? It's embarrassing to me. Anyway, however, one thing that you should not do is lock in your Social Security at a reduced rate for the rest of your life, because you're worried about it going away. All right, so everyone's favorite measure of economic activity is GDP. It shouldn't be, but okay, that's what we use. And GDP is based on what? The primary generation of growth in GDP is personal consumption expenditures. 65 to 70%, I've said this 1,000 times on this channel, I'll just keep saying it until I die. 65 to 70% of the growth of GDP is attributed to one thing only, and that's PC, personal consumption expenditures. You take a country that's got 70 million people, all right, on it right now, some sort of Social Security right now, and you take away their Social Security by 15, 20%, those 70 million people, all right, that's the equivalent of 20% of 70 million, that's 14 million people essentially who don't have Social Security. Now, obviously it won't be like that, because the 70 million people will still get their Social Security, but be reduced by 20%. So that's an 80% amount of Social Security they will get relative to what it was before. And that's the same equivalent of 14 million people being taken off the Social Security rolls. What happens to an economy where 14 million consumers just no longer consume? All right, what happens to that economy? And instead, those 14 million consumers, if they're going to continue to consume, they have to get their their money to consume from someplace else. From where does that consumption come from? Oh, their portfolio of investments, right? If they have any. So they're going to be doing what? 14 million more sellers in the stock market. Some of those people before might have been buyers. So it's a net loss. You know, they used to buy. It's like when you're the Red Sox playing the Yankees, and we're tied for first place, and the Red Sox lose to the Yankees because the Yankees, we know, cheat. Now we're back a game. You see what I'm saying? We're not back a half a game. We're back a full game because we got one more loss in the loss section. The Yankees got one more win in the win section. So we are back a game, which means we need to win one more time than the Yankees, and they got to lose one more time than we do for us to even get back to even. The same thing here. You take what was previously a net buyer of equities or bonds, I don't care, CDs, doesn't matter, because they have some excess cash flow, as many retirees do. And now you take away that, and instead you make them net sellers. So not only are they gone from the buy side, it's no different than an accounting measure, you know, a debit and a credit. Now we have one less buyer, one less buy side person, and one more sell side person. What does that do to the prices of your portfolio? Oh, it makes it decline. Oh. So now my portfolio is declined, which means I got to cut back my consumption or sell more of my portfolio. You can see where this vicious cycle ends up. A depression like we have never seen before, because the economy, as measured by GDP, which is everyone's favorite way to measure economic growth, is going down because of consumption's dropping. On top of the stock market's dropping like a brick in water, and people will start consuming less, which hurts the economy as a whole, as we've seen time and time again in various depressions and recessions. So these people, the problem is, because they've been led by the fear mongers, it's crazy to me. I said, man, how many times have you heard that the Republicans are going to cut Social Security? But this time they're definitely going to. Okay. You're going to make a mistake. And that, in my opinion, it could haunt you for the rest of your life. Because instead of having $3,000 a month of Social Security, you got $2,100 a month in Social Security. Getting a 2.4% COLA on $3,000 is equivalent to $60 a month increase. A 2.4% COLA on $2,200 is equivalent to $45. That might not seem like on a month-to-month basis, much on a month-to-month basis, but compounding over many years that you're going to be alive is significant. You're going to leave a lot more on the table with Social Security taking it early than you would if you delayed it. And it could come back and bite you in the butt. Can't tell you how many people I talked to in my career who took Social Security early, and now they're scrounging, man. Not all of them. Some are fine because some of the investment portfolio outgrew the reduction in Social Security that they took because they took it early. When that works against you, though, man, that's the thing about retirement planning. You always want to defend and be on the defense, not on the offense. And the defense is, let's sure I have the most amount of money, the least amount of risk, that'll last for the longest amount of time. If you do those three things, inherently taking Social Security later than earlier is a way to go. I love your thoughts. God bless. Subscribe, and we'll see you.